And welcome to this very special presentation about real estate abroad. Today we're going to be discussing China, Japan, and Korea, and we've got quite a panel for you today. It's going to be very special. Our panelists are logged on today from New York, California, Honolulu, Hawaii, and in Korea. It's going to be something very interesting. My name is Patrick ONeill. I'm the principal broker at Luxury Homes International and this year's president for the Hawaii International Real Estate Council. We're so happy you could join us. Just a quick disclaimer, just to keep this in context, not offering any tax advice for anything that we're talking about today or advice regarding legal, real estate plan, or immigration matters. The views and opinions are expressed are solely the views and the opinions of the speakers and do not represent the views or opinions of any organization. Okay, and today's event would have not come together without these two ladies. They do amazing work throughout the year, and they met at one of the National Realtor Association conventions. In Hawaii, we have Crystal Bisay, Director of Industry Relations with the Hawaii Association of Realtors, and Laura Halverson, Executive Vice President, Tri-County Association of Realtors. And I found out yesterday that Laura used to live on the big island of Hawaii, so we all send her a big aloha, aloha, Laura. And like to get on to talk a little bit about the Tri-County Association of Realtors, we have the president, Mr. John Yakub. He's also the broker owner of Care Real Estate. John, take it away.
Hey, thanks so much, Patrick. I want to once again thank everyone for being here. I want to thank you for setting this up. This is fantastic. As you know, Tri-Counties exist to promote ethics and a unified platform for our realtors to succeed. And in spite of any market conditions, what really drives our business forward are the relationships that we make locally and globally. So I'm excited to be here. I am very excited to learn, and also just wanted to thank our members for being here. I hope you get the most out of this possible. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Wanted to say hello to all the members of the Hawaii International Real Estate Council joining us today. This is an organization that organizes educational events throughout the year focused on clientele buying and selling from Pacific Rim and across the globe. And we've got an interesting seminar coming up for taxation. This is August 3rd. There's no charge. Everyone is free to join if you'd like. Jessica Sue, who has spoken before at some of our events, has great insight, and there are some changes, some things that are taking place. So if you're interested, please check that out. There'll be a link in the Zoom that you can sign up with as well. And coming up later in the year in October, we have David Garfield. He's one of the top immigration attorneys out of Washington, D.C., giving us an update on immigration. And in November, one of our most popular events with Ralph Kosa. Ralph has been associated with some of the top think tanks in the United States and has traveled the globe extensively, continues to even today. And at one point was part of the unofficial backdoor negotiation team with the North Koreans. Fascinating gentleman to listen to. Again, we'll have information in the chat, and you can always check out our website at hyrick.org. Finally, there will be a full video presentation of this available on our website at hyrick.org, and all attendees will be receiving an email with a link to that as well. If you have any questions, comments, etc., please put those in the Q&A or the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, we will try to get to those. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's go and learn a little bit about our speakers today. Sachi Braden is a longtime realtor here in the state of Hawaii, consistently in the top 1%. I think I've known Sachi for over 30 years, back in our Coldwell Banker days. She's the CEO and PB of Sachi Hawaii Pacific Properties. Sachi, konnichiwa. Hopefully you're there, Sachi. Okay. Oh, mic on. All right. And then, well, our second speaker is going to be Helen, Chen, Marston. Helen is going to talk about China. Helen is a graduate of Beijing University and received her MBA from Cal State. She is a top producing broker at Keller Williams, and you'll see from her resume in the chat, she's very, very involved and active with the local and National Association of Realtors, including the 2023 chairman of the CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist designation, and currently is the NAR ambassador to China, Korea, and Taiwan. Helen, ni hao. All right, and our third is ni hao. And our third speaker, Kewon, K-Song, will be talking about Korea. Kay comes with 25 years of experience. She's currently the broker owner of KS Homes in New York. And Kay, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Okay, and we have a very surprise last minute guest. And Eric, I'm sorry I don't have a better photo, but this is the only one that we have. Eric is joining us from Korea today. And among the many other things he does, he is the chair of the real estate department at the Korea Songsil Cyber University and a member of NAR since 2010. And he's also responsible for bringing the CIPS and the CRS programs to Korea. 안녕하세요, Eric.
Yeah, 안녕하세요.
Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so our presentation today, the way we're gonna approach this.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. My name is Eric, not Eric Song, Eric Park.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Sorry about that. Yeah, so what we're gonna do today on our format, we're gonna start by looking at real estate in country. So looking at China, Korea, Japan, how things are transacted there. Then we're going to bring it back over to the US and then talk about specific issues and things that are happening with clientele here in the US. So Sachi, we're going to start with you. Sachi, we're going to start with you. We're going to talk about the general market conditions in Japan. And I think everybody on the call, we probably do understand there are nuances on the various regions, differences. We're going to talk in big generalities today, first tier cities. So Sachi, can you unmute and could you just give us a quick snapshot of real estate in Japan? Sachi? Oh, Sachi may need, oh, there you go. You got it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so if you can give us just a little bit of a brief overview of what's happening in Japan in the real estate market.
Okay, I haven't, as a matter of fact, I haven't been back there for 2 years and during the COVID. Right now, it's still kind of difficult situation in Japan right now. But when I was given this opportunity to talk about the differences of America and Japan, though I was born and raised there and I came here a long, long time ago, it's just things where you deal with this Asian country with the long, the histories. And then America, we're barely 200 years. And so the cultural platform itself, which we build up everything, including a real estate market and, how you get to know people, how you pick up, do the marketing in America to sell is totally different and totally based on the different platform. So when you actually compare to America market to Japan market, the one things I see is Japan market is much more simpler. The number of the pages of the boilerplate of the PC is only 5 pages. And the people who really involved in the transaction after buyer decides or seller decides to sell, buyer decides to buy, it's basically 2 people, realtor.
Well, Sachi, sorry to interrupt you because we're going to get to the buying process and the selling process. So I want you to hold that thought because that's really important. But do you want to share anything right now about what's happening in the real estate market there?
Okay. The Tokyo, I'm going to choose the Tokyo because in anywhere else that it's countryside and city is totally different. Tokyo is about 14 million. It's about 8.8 million population in New York, so it's probably comparable. So right now, in about last year or so, the price of the real estate went up about 10%. And when you compare to America, you know, some of them are 40, 50% ever since the pandemic starts. This is really manageable. And I wonder why, I said. And the largest reason is their interest rate. As you know, bank to bank during the interest rate of Japan is one time minus. So right now that affect the residential property purchase loan to adjustable rate mortgage, as you might be surprised, is 0.375.
Wow.
10-year, I know, we all go to Japan and buy it. 10-year fixed is 0.859 and 35-year fixed amortized is 1.308%. So that keeps the real estate market very, very stable. Very, very, 10% goes up. It's just simply because the construction material went up about 20%. So that came up to the price. And so it is, unlike America, when you compare to the interest rate in 10 months goes up to twice more. And that is all surprise. And then sure enough, this year, I'm sure you have started observing that market is slowing down. And then stats already show that the slowing down market right now. So even the tendency of the Tokyo People's Buyer is basically to most convenient location, the closer to, it's still, you know, closer to.
Hold that thought on the purchaser. And that's a great thing to hear about. So about a 10% increase in values, interest rates. I mean, wouldn't we all love to have those? Right. So let's shift over to Helen. And Helen, can you just give us, and I mean, how do you say what China is doing, right? There's so many regions, so many districts, but just in a simplified conversation, what can you tell us about the China market?
Yeah, everybody knows China is so big. And then usually we say Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen are the first tier cities in China, and currently kind of more stable right now. You know, in the past 2 years, because the COVID, the whole real estate market in China is impacted negatively, really big, and also real estate market in China more impacted by the political sector a lot of the time, and especially in the past 2 years. And we're not talking about the second layer, third, and the fourth layer of the cities. And those are now basically stopped. And then they're so complicated because the economy, the COVID, and the political influence. So the major cities, like I just mentioned, those 4 big ones, now they kind of back to positive. And then you see the price up a little bit, and then even a bank open for the conventional loans. Great. And it's interesting, some of the cities just increase a lot, like, you know, south part, the very south island, Hainan Island in China, now they have really huge increase in real estate. But I think those like a vacation places, and the people really want to go, and then doesn't matter what happened, and the people will move over there, and then that's push the price up. And also island is the biggest island in China, but still comparing the whole island, that's small space. So the supply stronger than now, the demand stronger than the supply, and then of course the price up. But it is in Beijing right now, they actually don't promote to develop more real estate over there because they want to control the populations. So before, it's easy for you to buy a house over there from the other cities, but now you have to stay there for certain years. Then you are qualified to buy. So basically, they don't want people move to Beijing because they want to control. But at the same time, if you're a foreigner over there, as long as you have 6 years or 6 months visa, you are able to buy. So kind of you have a more privilege than the residents over there.
Oh, very interesting. Thank you, Helen. No, very interesting. Okay. And now we're going to shift over to Korea with Eric. And Eric, can you just kind of give us a quick overview of what's happening in Korea in the real estate market?
Yeah. Could you show that the PPT file? Yeah, Korea. Next, please. Next.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, I just this is a simple the figure. Just as you can see that the. But the first one, could you back to
Go back 1 slide.
yeah. As you see that the current market conditions is the quarterly change in house prices. 2022 first quarter is a minus 1.2%, but if you see that the 2021 and 2022, so the price change is very high. So recently, just price has been quite increased, but for the beginning of this year, it's becoming stable or just a little bit lower. And next, please. And this one also shows that the house price changes. Next, please. Next, please. This one, the house price indices is there are big for 6 cities in Korea. You can see that from the 2003 to 2020 is a very much increased. So that shows that the price continuously increased. Next, please. And also house price change, annual change. It shows that also recently 2020 to until 2021 is very much increased. Next, please. And also but recently the housing construction falling down. So as you can see that from the 2015 to 2019 is a decrease. Construction permit and then construction activity also becoming decrease. Next, please. Interest rate, as you can see that the 2007 is the highest. It was 2008. It was 7.58%, but recently 2.5%. But for this is until 2019 to 2020. But for this year, the interest rate is increased very rapidly. So that's the situation. Next, please. And also housing mortgage loans, as you can see that the very much expanded. So that's continuously that the house mortgage loans increased, they expanded. Next, please. Monthly rent indices is a little bit stable. The blue line is in Korea. Apartment is the most common type of the residential type. It's a blue is a very not high, so very stable. So next, please. And the GDP growth and inflation rate, it's very much stable. But for this year, as you know, that all of the countries, the inflation rate is becoming very high. So this Korea is same as a high inflation rate shows that, but it's only until 2020. Next, please. Next, please. This one, second part, maybe later.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. We'll wait for that. Eric, thank you very much. Oh, that's fascinating. And we compare that to most of the markets in the US have seen 20, 30, even 40% annual growth since 2020. It's really fascinating to hear about all these different marketplaces. Eric, may I ask you a question? Right now, the housing market in Korea, are there any restrictions if a foreigner purchases there?
The foreigner purchase is, I think, just what I understand that the most free to own, not only just a house, but also the land. most of country, they don't allow to own the land, but in Korea, since 2001, foreigners can own the land. So that's a very, just like America, it's almost like America, it's free to own by foreigners.
Yes, and Sachi, in Japan, are there any restrictions on foreigners purchasing property in Japan?
No,
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 okay, yep,
unlike any other Asian country, I don't think there is.
yes. Yeah, and Helen, how about for China? Does it vary by city?
Right, and then I think most of the foreigners' investments in the large cities, not in the smaller ones. There are too many variations. So usually in the major capital cities, and then Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and then no matter what, there is no one own the land.
I see. Is so meaning leasehold from the
Right.
government? Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And Korea, Japan, most of it fee simple. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you. That's fascinating. I learned a lot. Just I really appreciate that. Let's move on to our next, which is going to be buying property for nationals in that country, in Japan and in China and Korea. And Helen, let's start with you. What is the buying process like? And in particular, when we're talking about buyer's agents, do people use buyer's agents? What's a typical commission rate? Are they using buyer representation agreements? Can you talk a little bit about that?
You know, I like to say we are very fortunate here working in real estate business. In China, it's totally different game. I don't think we can survive there. But I mean, the business there for many years, they managed, you know, their way. But for me, I just cannot understand, you know, because there is no like local association, state association, and the national association organization, not at all. And then there's no MLS system. A lot of people try to bring that to China, but they tried very hard and then many different ways, but not successful at all. So that being said, there is no guarantee, no anything to regulate the commission. So the commission varies depending on the market condition. For example, if it's a seller's market, buyer pays everything. And then even for sellers, tax, buyer pays for. You know, for us, that didn't make any sense, but that's what happened in China. And then, so if you want to buy the property, then you pay everything. But
see.
Usually maximum of the commission is less than 2.5%. And then more likely, most of the time paid by buyer.
And the 2.5%, is that just for the buyer's representation
No,
side,
for
or is that
total,
for both?
both sides.
For the whole total?
Right. In China, they don't have a real buyer agent or seller agent. Everybody work together, just like the real estate company. They basically put a buyer seller together and, you know, try to make it, you know, all the way push to the end. And then if you are the developer, you have the dominant power to control everything. So usually they have their own sales team. They have their own model set in their whole building, and the buyer just come to their building and they show their models. And then their people just take care of everything. And even their own team to deal with the buyers. There's no people like designated to the buyer. So everybody try to talk over and to the buyer. And then so the manager have to figure out after the whole sales process done, who talked the most, who took care of the buyers the most. And
Assuming that's some heated arguments come up on that one.
So it's not peaceful at all. So you have to be really stressful to fight over.
Yes, and then and the real estate, let's say agents that work there, are they the agents themselves, are they making a commission like we do here where you make a split, or are they being paid a salary and the company gets commission?
now usually combine, like you have a base salary and then have some commission. Not
Okay.
like over here, 2.5 and you just split with your company. That's not the way in China. So
Yes.
the company make the most money.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, thank you, Helen. That's really interesting. And then Eric, how about in Korea? How does it work with buyers, agents, representing buyers? What sort of commissions are paid? Who pays it?
They pay the buyer and sellers, both sides. Can you show that the PPT?
Chris, can you pull up the PowerPoint one more time?
Yeah, PowerPoint. Yeah. Yeah, just let me explain just what
Okay.
what is the question about it. So next, please. The other centralized MLS style systems, yes, but it's by private company with a non-exclusive listings. So we don't say that exactly MLS. That's one question. And then second is how is a square footage calculated compared to the US? Korea use square meters. 1 square meter is 10.76 feet. And what type of financing is available? Finance is 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. But we have 40 years, but only for the youth family and newly married couples.
And Eric, let me ask you a question about the square footage. So the square footage, if for an apartment building, or we'd say a condo here, how do you calculate what the size is? Is it interior wall to interior wall, or does that size include part of the common elements?
So we use interior part.
Just the interior.
Inside of the wall.
Understood. Okay. All right. Okay. And
yeah,
yes.
As your question was that the commission we pay at the both sides.
And what would be a typical commission? How much would be paid?
Next slide, please. This is the typical commission rates in Korea. Korea is in terms of the commission rates very low. As you see that the sale is 0.4% only. But based on that the price of the house price, based on the house price, the rate is will be different, and also sale and rent also different. So as you can say that the sale is about 0.4%, rent is the 0.3%. It's a medium the house price based on the medium house price. So as a brokers in Korea, it's really compared to other countries are lower than any other countries.
Very interesting. And this 0.4 is that per side? The seller pays 0.4, buyer pays 0.4. Is this the whole commission?
It's one side, so it's it could be 0.8% if you collect both sides.
Very interesting. Does anybody want to go work in Korea?
Not really.
Yeah, that's why many the foreign brokerage company, they try to come to Korea, but because of the commission rate, they just stop to come to Korea.
That makes sense. Okay, Eric, did you have anything else to share, or we're going to move over to Sachi in Japan? Anything else, Eric? Thank you. That was very informative. So Sachi, let's head over to you, talking about the buying process. Do buyer's agents exist? What's the typical commissions and who pays it?
They do. There is virtually no independent contractor. You're not going to take all the commissions. Commission is buyer. If you represent a buyer, you get it from buyer. You represent a seller, and that's usually 3% plus $600 plus tax. So that's what they do. But the money goes to most of the realtor, licensed one, needs to be hired and employed. That's a real estate law. So so just discourage an independent contractor kind of work. So most of the people who works as a realtor is employed. And sometimes they used to give them a bonus if you sell the big deal. But even then, that is discouraging it, because you can persuade the buyer to buy or seller to sell a little too much on behalf of their increased bonus. So most of the company, the real estate company, is My parent company is called the Open House Group. And that's basically, that's what they do. All of them works for me, and then I communicate as a referral business and stuff, all employed. And so basically, and that's what you're talking about the buyer side. Are you talking about the seller
That's
side?
right. Yeah, the buyer side. Yeah, and Sachi, is there a centralized MLS system that's used?
Yes, there is a central MLS. It's called REINS, REINS.org.jp, and that was managed by Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation, Tourism, and stuff. However, most of the people still carry that, visit each real estate company and then try to, what is the hot new listing in? So they don't think REINS is going to, but because it's put it on the one place and then anybody and everybody see at any time of the day, they think it's that lacks the reality and try to get the hot, good listing, hot, good buyers. So yes, they are trying to working at, and then REINS is divided by Japan in 4 different areas. So you could, I think if you could use, so most of the people use REINS as well as the actually visiting a different company. So that's why when the Japanese buyers comes in town, they're not gonna call you, but they call me and they call everybody because they think you have something in your pocket and so do I. Yeah, so that's where it comes.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, and you can see, people who are watching this that may not be aware of how these countries operate. You can see already how the difference is, and how the education process has to help them. And then Sachi, let me just, we'll stay with you for a moment. So the actual purchase contracts you started to touch on, and does in Japan, are they using escrow companies? Are they using law firms? How does the transaction go in a brief sense?
Transaction, most two people, which is the realtor and judicial scrivener. Judicial scrivener is what they call shihou shoshi. They notary, their attorney, their conveyance bureau. So they have, with the authority and license, and works for government, they do a whole guide to making sure the liens is, not included unless you specifically said it in, on the purchase contract. Purchase contracts boilerplate is 5 pages. Everything is really simple. And judicial scrivener and realtor and buyer and seller, that's get things done. And even the deposit, first deposit, will buyer write a check or transfer, wire the money or whatever to the seller directly, and seller gives the receipt.
Wow.
So it's really, that's what I was going to say, that the platform is basically the trust. And unless Japan is one people nations, basically. So they know what they're thinking, what they're doing, what they're saying. Yeah. So basically that sort of platform allows that trust of if all these more simple work.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. And then Eric, coming back to you in Korea, do the buyers and sellers use any form of an escrow company or attorneys, and who drafts the purchase contract?
Could you show that the PPT file, please?
Oh, okay. Back PowerPoint, Crystal, if you could.
Yeah. As Sachi explained about the Japan, Korea is almost same as Japan. Mostly that who prepares the purchase documents, mostly the licensed broker. But the title registration by judicial scrivener. It's not like Japan, what she explained. And also the question is, are escrow companies and title insurance available for use? That are available, but it's not common. Mostly they don't hire the escrow company or title insurance company. And also attorneys use, mostly not just for the ordinary people, they don't use, but the company, they use the attorneys, but for the ordinary people, they don't hire the attorneys. They just do, as I explained, that the title registration by judicial scrivener. So that's the same, almost same as the Japan.
Very interesting. And then Helen, let's shoot over to you. How about in China? Is there such thing as an escrow company? Are attorneys used? How does the process work? There is no real escrow title company in China. So most time you do everything in-house. If you're a developer, they have department, and then you sign a contract, or you use the real estate company, and then so they will prepare all the document to sign for both sides. So there is no escrow, the third party escrow or title. So you do your own diligence, and then there's no title insurance either. There's no home warranty. So some of the company, they want to be outstanding to win buyer. They will say, we will guarantee this. But those just their company's guarantees, not like home warranty type thing. But if you have any problems after closing, they will help you to fix this, fix that. That's their promise. It's not like a warranty part of your contract. And then there's no real estate lawyer involved with transaction either. And then who would hold the buyer's initial deposit, or is there such a thing? The company. Oh, the company will. I see. Either the developer or the real estate company, like the middleman, and yes, they kept the deposit. Very interesting. Helen, let's stay with you and talk about China. Now we're going to shift over to selling a property. Okay, so when we think about selling a property in China, typically exclusive or non-exclusive listings. You've already touched on the commission structure, but how does that work? And are there any disclosure requirements for the seller? No, and then there is no exclusive listing. Unless you're a developer, of course, you have to come to the developer to buy, and then so they control buying and selling at the same time. But it's for the secondhand. In China, the real estate started with new construction only. So that's why when the agent over here had clients from China, they have no idea about secondhand property. When you show them the house built in 1950, they will say, oh my gosh, that will collapse any moment, because they never deal with secondhand house, always start with the new construction. So now, we have in China, they have the secondhand market, property market. And then if someone wants to sell the house, they don't sign that excluding listing with anyone. They will just like open listing to everyone, and then whoever found the buyer and then who open escrow. See, so if you're a seller, do you contact multiple real estate companies to say, hey, I want to sell this house? Here's the a lot of sellers, they really want to do their own. So they will put advertisement on newspaper, on their window, and then they just want maybe word to word, mouth to mouth, and to friends and the families, and then find a buyer, and they can just privately finish everything together. Oh, very interesting. So that's a lot of people actually, a lot of transactions done that way. Yes. And then unless in the big cities you want sell more, then you reach out to the big real estate company, and then they will help you to do more advertisement and try to find the buyers for you. I understand. Okay, great. Oh, fascinating. Sachi, let's come back to you. Again, talking about now selling. You're selling a property. Exclusive listings, non-exclusive listings, are there disclosure requirements? What happens?
I talked about the website that governed by the government, and that's reigns all exclusive. That people give you, yeah. So that what you find in that site is all exclusive. But again, like for instance, probably my parent company buy and build, so they are always looking for good land. So would they go to reigns? I don't think so. They're basically go to one-on-one relationship. In Asia, one-on-one relationship is very, very important. So if that relationship is based on that, then that's on the platform, And then so I don't think they'll go visit and then visit and talk to sometime directly you're the owner of the land. And so they basically do the things that we don't do. Yeah.
Got
And
it.
then before, lots of the construction was kind of governed by the part of the Yakuza type of people. So there you can see why less women are working on that construction related of the development.
Okay, thank you. And then Eric, how about in Korea? Exclusive or non-exclusive listings for the sellers?
It's a non-exclusive listings.
And would a seller list with multiple companies? How would they end up selling?
They are they're selling the information to the brokers. Brokers list the houses to the site, but not non-exclusive listings.
I
So
see.
they are very competitive to get the information. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Eric, thank you very much. And I think we're going to now shift over into now buying in the US. So let's maybe go over to Kay. We haven't heard from Kay yet. Kay, let's talk about, and I think this is where it's all going to kind of come home. When your Korean buyers are buying here in the US in a general scope, what are some of the things you really have to educate them about?
Well, not to educate them, I just tell you that what do they need to buy the property in US, like they need to have a valid passport and provide address from Korea, and they have to show the proof of down payment, minimum of 30%, as well as closing cost and at least 6 months of reserves. And also must open a checking or saving bank account from US banking, institution. Yes.
Okay, and then are they familiar before they come how commission structures work, about MLS systems? You have to educate them about that, or they kind of know before they come?
They only know who pays the commission, and because they are buying it, they don't have to worry about the commission because the seller pays.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. And then Helen, let's shift over to you. So kind of the same thing. Buyers coming from mainland China, coming to buy in your area in the US. What are some of the things you have to educate them about?
You have a lot of work to work with Chinese buyers because there's a totally different way to handle, and they only experience what they had in China. And then so they, first of all, they don't have the trust over you, and you have to really first educate them the buying process in America, and then at the same time you establish the relationship with them and then build the trust. And you have to really tell them that in US, contract is legalization document, but for them they can negotiate all the way through from beginning to the end. So that's one thing that you really pay attention on that one. Otherwise they might be lose in the process, losing their deposit because they don't believe that the deposit can be forfeited, and they thought I can get it anytime when I say no, because that's in China. It's the same thing. If you change mind by the last moment, you can get your money back, but not in US. So that have to be the number one important thing, have to educate them.
See, yeah. Oh, well, that's very well said. Very well said. And then from what you see right now, clients from mainland China, and I know right now it's different for all of these countries because of COVID, but primarily cash purchasers financing. What did you see?
Many of them pay all cash, but right now they understand that they do not need to, and then because now more people getting to in the real estate market to start to thinking to own, and then so they all now in thinking of the loan, And then, of course, as a foreigner, is the loan process different with residents or the permanent residents?
Yes, and Helen, one other question right now, what are the restrictions of someone from mainland China wanting to bring cash to the US to buy something?
It has been this way for a long time that one person lifetime, you can only bring 50,000 US dollars outside of China. So that's why before they use all their family members. And then if you are owner of a business, all your employees headcount to wire $50,000 each. So if you buy over $1 million, and then I remember one time my client have to use 35 people to bring the money in. And then now I think even worse that even they say 50,000, but a lot of places they control up to 10,000. And even 10,000, you have to declare the source of your money.
And I think there's another restriction. Those funds can no longer wire to one account, which is what would happen before for some of the areas. Sachi, how about if we jump over to you? So buying in the US, what is the main thing you have to educate your clients about?
You know, buyer in Japan, because there's no contingency during the time that you in Japan. So they think when you sign the contract, purchase contract, that's it. So, oh, don't you, I just bought it, right? So there's no contingency. So you have to clearly explain the contingencies, the right to cancel and or decisions of not to cancel. And then also the time frame of the contingencies. That's really, really important. As Helen said, sometimes Chinese people negotiate all the way to 11th hour. They can't do that sort of thing. It's a purchase contract is really the what you bilateral. It's not unilateral. Two party agreed upon. So we have to show the respect to the other party if you needed extensions and stuff like that. So education of the buyers are really important, and there's no restriction of how much money you can wire from Japan. So
Okay.
as far as the done deal is done, they have money, they can send it. But Japanese people's complaint of the Hawaii house is it breaks so easily. Yeah, so that's the claim.
Okay, well, thank you. That's good. And Sachi, let's stay with you and let's just talk. And we're running out of time. This is just fascinating. You do this for a couple more hours, but selling process in the US. So kind of the same question. You have someone from Japan. What is something you need to educate them about that's different here? And then secondly, I'll just throw this in. Do you generally do any translation for them, or do you send them to someone else to translate documents?
You know, if they're buying at new project in Howard Hughes and places like that, there's just a thick, it's not purchase contract we use. So I hire the attorney to do the not page by page, but the content and red flag matter that they should really know where the money is going to be spent and stuff like that. I will do that. The purchase contract, sometimes we used to do this translation, but translation is more confusing for Japanese. So we explain, and if they really needed help, then try to use the Japanese speaking attorney.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing is what we need to do is that at the closing time that you have to pay plus the tax plus the escrow fee plus the title insurance fee. A lot of things add up, and then those are the things that it's better to let them know ahead of time, because rather than later on the last minute, hey, you need more money, so. And then for selling it, explain if they're, I bought 1 million, then I can sell at 2 million. And so I make a 1 million profit. No, withholding tax, we have to. FIRPTA, HAPTA, that they have to explain, I have to explain it. And even like right now, the yen 110, now 138 or 139. So it's about 25% more. So they said, "Ooh, I make money," but you have to consult your CPA.
Yes, on the other side. Okay.
So there's no surprise. So that making the different items no surprise and explain it ahead of time as
Very
much
important.
as possible.
Okay, thank you. And Kay, how about when you're working with the Korean sellers, what's some things you need to explain to them? What's the thing they misunderstand?
Well, if they sell, there is a prepaid penalty. So a lot of foreign national wants to pay off the mortgage first or second year, but with this program, they must hold the mortgage and pay minimum amount for at least 2 years. Most of them they pay cash, but nowadays they know they can get the loan, and they need to know there is a penalty.
Yes. Are they getting a loan in Korea and bringing the funds, or are they getting a loan here in the US?
No, in America.
In America, got it. Okay. And then Helen, how about for you when you're working with your Chinese clients? What are some of the things you really need to explain to the sellers?
Well, the first thing you have to explain all the closing statement. You tell them estimated the closing will be, what items need to be paid by seller. That's very important. That's when you do not have the last minute surprise. And then the main thing along those closing costs is the tax. They don't understand. You have to really educate them that the withholding is not the government just take away. Because in China, telling people say, "Oh, if you in America, if you buy, and then the American government will take away a certain percentage of your sales." I said, no, that's not true, because you do not have a social security, and then they worry about you have the capital gain, they just run away. So they will withhold a certain amount until you file your tax return, and then they will return the money that you earned by yourself. It's not, just take away by the government. And that's really part. And also you have to find a good CPA that help you to do that, because not all the CPA does that.
Yes, very good. And the FIRPTA withholding, we have another withholding here in Hawaii, which we call HARPTA. It's an additional 7.25. Do you have an additional in California?
No, usually just 1/3 ish.
Do you have just the FIRPTA withholding?
Yeah,
the
just
FIRPTA? Okay. And Kay, how about you in New York? Do you have an equivalent of a state
10%,
withholding?
Yeah, 10%, withholding of the selling price.
An additional 10%. I see. Okay. And I'll share with everybody something we just ran into, and it's happened quite a bit. Sometimes our foreign clients have different names that they use. And then when you go back to get the withholding refunded, right, it becomes an issue because it has to be the name on their passports. So it's something to be aware of. Okay, you know what? This is just absolutely fascinating. I would love to keep talking about this. We are unfortunately kind of running out of time. So I'm just going to, and we have some incredible questions. And I think what we'll try to do to the attendees is maybe we'll send these out to the panelists and try to get you some answers. There's a really, really interesting questions we don't have time for. But Sachi, let's start with you. What are some of the important kind of social customs or etiquette for the Japanese clientele when they come to the US, maybe that agents really need to be aware of?
Sometimes, try to find out who's the decision makers. Sometimes it's a husband, and sometimes it's a wife. And then large number of entourage comes with them. So it's really difficult for me who's the buyer? So I do ask them, well, which nice looking gentleman here is the buyer? Something like that. So it is hard to, and then of course, don't walk in front of them. First, you just let them go. But may I lead? You have to tell them when you walk in front of them. Yeah, so especially the older gentlemen, yeah, they're still very, particularly Korea. I think it's more men. Men's are much more. Men and older people are much more important than the others. So don't you dare walk in front of them. So I feel kind of uncomfortable walking in front of them unless yeah, especially going and climbing up the stairs in the house and stuff. Would you like to go up?
Oh, inside
Yeah.
tip there. Okay, so etiquette. Don't walk in front of the Japanese male customer. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that's interesting. Kay, is there any sort of special etiquette, manners, anything that people should be aware of when they're working with clientele from Korea?
No, not with Korean. I always, hear with the Chinese, which Helen explained.
I see. Okay. Well, let's go over to Helen with that then. Helen, is there any sort of customs or special etiquette, social manners, anything that agents need to be aware of when dealing with clientele from China?
Well, usually we always respect the elders, and then it still does right now, but it's kind of a change a lot right now. And as Chet mentions, it's very important to find out who are the decision maker. That's very important because some of the youngers, when they purchase their homes, and then usually the parents help with the down payment, and then so most of the time you have to make them happy. Because sometimes because the young people, what they like is different with what the elder like. And then, but elders make the final decision because they have the money. And then that's very important. You don't want to double work and always your time.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. And Eric, is there anything you want to add to that conversation when Korean nationals coming to the US, anything that we should be aware of from a social etiquette standpoint or manners?
As Helen said, I think it's more or less the same as that the old people mostly they decide to choose the house.
Yes. All right. Well, hey, everyone, I am so sorry to report that we are out of time because this has been absolutely fascinating. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate, and everybody does, of all you participating. Sachi, Eric, Helen, Kay, it's been a pleasure meeting you all. I hope we get a chance to do this again. It's been wonderful. And again, thank you to Crystal and Laura for organizing this event. That's it for today. So stay safe, be healthy, and from Honolulu, Hawaii, aloha. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you.